Hello friends, Tommy with Studio Sense here. I'm really glad you decided to check out today's video. I hope that you're doing great so far, and I hope the content of this video just makes your day even better, because we're talking about one of my favorite subjects in fragrance, and that is 10 out of 10, the absolute perfect fragrance. And yes, there are quite a few out there that I consider a 10 out of 10, and these are just 10 of 10 out of 10. I know that sounds confusing, and it's a confusing thumbnail title. I'm gonna prove to you guys today why these 10 fragrances are 10 of the best 10 out of 10 fragrances. And you might notice that there are some similarities in all of them, and there's a little bit of a sense of urgency, and I'll explain that right after this. Welcome back everyone to 10 of the best 10 out of 10 fragrances. These 10 colognes have proven themselves to be some of the best the industry has come out with. As I'm sharing these 10 fragrances with you guys, kind of compare it with your running list of fragrances you consider a perfect 10. The first fragrance I consider a 10 out of 10 is a discontinued fragrance, and that's not uncommon. There are several in this list. It's by Armani, and it's Armani Eau de Nuit. Armani Eau de Nuit is a fresh yet darkly lit room. It's one of the more fresh masculine fragrances that has a little bit of a floral bent due to the combination of iris and heliotrope in the heart of the fragrance that gives us kind of a soft floral overtone. And again, it's one of those where you'll see a common thread in the rest of these 10 that tie them all together, along with that kind of sense of urgency, because while this fragrance is discontinued, there are a few of them out on the market. I recommend this one as a unique nighttime masculine fragrance to wear on date nights and in the evenings of summer, fall, and spring. Armani Eau de Nuit to me is a fantastic fragrance that deserves a 10 out of 10 respect, and I think you guys should check it out if you haven't already. Another 10 out of 10 fragrance for me, especially in this kind of weather where it's a little bit cooler weather and you need something that's going to be beast mode, is one from Christian Dior. It is Dior Sauvage Elixir. I know you've heard people talk about Elixir. I know you're probably tired of having people talk about it, but if you haven't tried it yourself, I want you to determine how you feel. It's almost like watching a movie and you're like, man, I love this movie, and you want your best friend to watch the movie and kind of get their reaction too. It's almost like seeing it for the first time through their eyes once you get their honest reaction. And I want your guys' honest reaction to how you feel about Sauvage Elixir. I think it's one of those fragrance creations that's super unique and is a standout, and that's to me why it's a 10 out of 10. For many reasons that I'm not going to take the time to list here, but if you haven't tried out Sauvage Elixir, try to get a sample of it. If you have a friend that has it, allow you to use a few sprays, and you can determine yourself how you feel about it. But I think it's one of those perfect 10 out of 10 fragrances. It's a beautiful, luxury, heavy, beast mode scent. Another fragrance that I recommend you guys try out right now that I feel is a perfect 10 out of 10 is Tom Ford Oud Wood. Now you can select the Parfum or the Eau de Parfum edition. For our purposes today, I'm talking about the EDP version. Tom Ford's Oud Wood is one of the most wearable ouds. It actually takes the fear factor out of wearing oud, but it leaves the mystery intact. A good dose of cardamom, oud, sandalwood, pink pepper, rosewood, amber, and patchouli. I think even those that don't like oud would find something that they enjoy about Tom Ford Oud Wood, and that is one reason out of many why I consider it a 10 out of 10. All right, friends, another fragrance that I consider a 10 out of 10 is a wonderful fragrance by Guerlain, and they have a fantastic catalog of men's fragrances, and this one is Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. It's creamy, dreamy, almond, cherry, tobacco, fragrance perfection with an autumn jacket on. It has a unique combination of all of those notes, and the end result is just this, I don't know, another word that's better to describe it other than very dreamy. It's almost like a fragrance that has those nostalgic faded edges around the corners of it. Once you wear it, once you experience it, and again, I'm wearing it today, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw on a couple more sprays.
This one I just can't get enough of.
It's one of my wife's favorite fragrances to smell on me. One of those that will turn heads, potentially get you some really nice compliments as well. Perfect 10 out of 10 in my book. Guerlain L'Homme Ideal EDP. Another fragrance I consider a 10 out of 10 that I've got to talk about now, and that's where some of the sense of urgency is coming from. Of course, Armani Eau de Nuit, because it's discontinued, and this one is discontinued. It is a fragrance by Prada. It is the OG Laundry Fresh Wonderkind itself, and that is Prada L'Homme. By now, you know very well, I don't know that it's a child prodigy, but a Wonderkind is what I call it anyway, because it's only been out for like, what, 8 years? 2016, I think, is when it was launched. And since its launch date, it's just gotten more and more popular. It's been featured on so many channels, and it's one of those hype-worthy fragrances. You don't really consider a Laundry Fresh fragrance something that's beast mode because it's not super loud, and yet it is an extremely long-lasting fragrance. This, along with any in the line, including Water Splash, you would think that it's more of an eau de cologne. It is not. None in the Prada L'Homme line are weak fragrances. They are all pretty close to being beast mode, and the original, the OG. Its use of fresh iris and tonka together is bar none one of the best. And again, you're gonna notice iris as a thread in all of these fragrances because iris has been one of those notes that's been gaining in popularity as the years go by. I don't think the focus is as much iris-centric, but it has been over the past many years, and each of these features some form of iris. Another fragrance that I personally consider a 10 out of 10, a lot of people were disappointed by, and I can understand that disappointment. For me, I absolutely adore it. It's by Narciso Rodriguez, and it's For Him Bleu Noir Parfum. Iris, musk, and suede, another perfectly masculine example of iris done right, and that to me leads this fragrance towards the horizons of a perfect 10. Now I know many people were disappointed because they were looking for a For Him or a Bleu Noir flanker. This is least like the Bleu Noir flankers out of all of them, probably. But Bleu Noir Parfum still, for me, again, it's just a wonderful example of a masculine iris done right, and that's why it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Another 10 out of 10 for me, and really for a lot of reviewers and fragrance wares and fragrance aficionados, is one by Jean-Paul Gaultier in the Le Male line. It's Male Le Parfum. Again, you get that sense of urgency because this one is getting harder to find. Thus the uber large 6.7 ounce bottle that I purchased because I wanted it to last a while. I got a sample of it and I was like, I'm gonna wanna wear that a lot. I'm gonna get the jumbo size bottle of it, and I'm really glad that I did. Another example of iris, lavender, vanilla, woods. It's got that whole familiar yet supremely well done Le Male DNA, even as it's a bit more mature than the typical Le Male or Ultra Male that you're used to. The mystery in that DNA really appeals to everyone, and that's why it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Now this next 10 out of 10 fragrance is my guilty pleasure. It's kind of my nostalgic ode to my clubbing days. Although I'm known to hit up the EDM clubs still yet, it's got more of a nostalgic factor to it. But it is by Versace, and it's Versace Eros Parfum. It's basically that minty apple fresh DNA that you know and love so well in Eros, with a ton of vanilla on top. They're really on top and on bottom. It's perfectly dressed for autumn, for cooler weather, and that's one reason I adore it. It's a fantastically wearable fragrance that, while it has a bit of familiarity, it's still mysterious enough, it's still masculine and sexy enough to raise eyebrows and turn heads. Versace Eros Parfum, a 10 out of 10 for me. Now, Givenchy has launched quite a few fragrances in the gentleman line, gentleman and gentlemen, but one that is a perfect 10 out of 10 for me, and another kind of sort of sense of urgency wrapped around it, because it's getting a little bit harder to find and is gonna just increase in price as it becomes a bit more scarce, but is one of the best smelling and most wearable of the line, is Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Toilette Intense. Guys, I absolutely fell in love with a near magical combination of blue iris, cypress, coumarin. The coumarin in this is what gives it its sweetness, kind of mystery danger factor, because coumarin is dangerous in certain doses, has been outlawed in certain countries, but in fragrance, it's still kind of safe. I wouldn't recommend eating it. I really, really like it. And if you haven't tried it out, if you've been thinking about pulling the trigger on a Givenchy Gentleman fragrance and you already have Reserve Privé, because that is one of the best, definitely check this one out. I think you'll agree, it is a 10 out of 10. Guys, last of the 10 out of 10 fragrances is one of the best examples of warm and woody and earthy and vegetal and mineral in tandem. Terre d'Hermès, the Parfum edition. Now, Terre d'Hermès, the EDT, is also a 10 out of 10, but for different reasons. The Parfum edition is a kind of a unique flanker. Yes, you can tell it is a flanker of Terre as part of the family. The olfactive resemblance is definitely there, but the direction that the Parfum edition goes to me is quite unique. While you think as a Parfum it would be a bit overwhelming and a bit too strong to wear to the office, it's not. It's perfect for the autumnal or transitional type fragrance time period, which is, well, it's kind of a bit over now because we're in cooler weather now, but you can still wear it in cooler weather. It's perfectly usable during the early days of winter, but really it's so versatile you could wear it year round. I love the lightly zesty yet warm, appealing orange peel kind of accord that comes from the heart of the DNA. One of the best earthy combinations of vegetal and mineral in tandem, and that's why it's a perfect 10 out of 10. Well guys, that's it for my 10 out of 10 fragrances. I wanted to get that feeling across that these are absolutely perfect in my eyes, and there are 10 of them. Of course, I could have picked out 11 or 12 or 16 or whatever as an arbitrary number, but 10 out of 10 makes it a little bit easier to remember, I think. Compare it to your list. What are some of your favorites that I've mentioned already? Or if I didn't mention one of your absolute favorite perfect 10s, let everyone know in the comments below which one those are or that particular one is. Always appreciate hearing your comments. Well, that's it for today's video. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Please be safe out there. As always, thank you so much for your continued support on my channel as we grow. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video review.